In today's world, wealth seems to have become a symbol that everyone longs for. We see it in the gleaming cars, the luxurious mansions, the watches and handbags worth a fortune. People aren't just chasing money. They're chasing admiration, praise, and recognition from others. But have you ever wondered, do truly wealthy people need to flaunt their riches? Why are there those who are genuinely rich, yet remain discreet and calm, seemingly uninterested in showing off? And why are there others who, the moment they come into a bit of money, rush to boast and parade every item they own? Is everyone who wears designer labels, sports expensive watches, or drives luxury cars actually rich? Or deep down, are they simply trying to buy a sense of belonging to the glamorous world they crave? The truth is, the difference between real wealth and superficial wealth isn't just in the amount of assets one owns. It's also in how they relate to their own prosperity. Those who are truly wealthy don't need to shout to the world, "I have money." They don't need to wear glittering diamond watches or drape themselves in logos to prove it. Because real value, the true worth of a person, is never determined by how others see them, but by the richness and fullness they carry within. Wealth, if used only for show, is just a thin coat of paint, easily chipped away when the storms of life roll in. But when it's cultivated from within, it becomes a quiet, steady, and unshakable force. So what really sets apart those who are genuinely rich from those who just look the part? What gives the truly wealthy their ease, their calmness, their graceful command of life? Today, let's dive deep into that story. And first, let's begin with one simple question. Are truly wealthy people really as discreet as we think? In today's world, where images of opulence flood social media, advertisements, and bustling city streets, it's easy to assume that rich people are always putting their wealth on display. A fiery red sports car zooming past, a mansion glowing with light, a pricey handbag with a giant logo prominently displayed. All seem to declare, to be rich is to show it off. But if you take a closer look, you'll notice something interesting. Not all wealthy individuals choose to flaunt their riches. Not everyone with money feels the need for external symbols to affirm their value. Some live quietly in abundance, yet carry themselves with the utmost simplicity. They dress modestly, live in homes that aren't overly lavish, and you might not even notice them if you judged only by appearances. And that leads us to ask, so, is true wealth always tied to discretion? The answer might not be absolute. There are indeed rich people who enjoy luxury, who savor life through fine and expensive things. And that, in itself, is not wrong. These exquisite products, these works of art in material form, were made for those with the means to appreciate and afford them. Without such people, the world of luxury, grounded in craftsmanship, heritage, and creativity, wouldn't survive. The key lies in this. Truly wealthy individuals consume with a very different mindset. They buy what they genuinely love, what reflects their personality or brings them real joy, not because they want others to be impressed. A simple Hermes bag with no flashy logo, a handcrafted watch only true connoisseurs would recognize, a cozy home without a hint of gold plating. These are the choices that come from knowing oneself, not from trying to prove anything to the world. On the other hand, for those who haven't truly felt full from within, owning flashy symbols of wealth becomes an urgent need. An expensive handbag isn't just for carrying things, it carries their missing confidence. A sports car isn't just for getting around, it transports the feeling of "I've made it" in the eyes of others. That's why the logo has to be big, the brand has to be loud, the price tag must be mentioned, because their inner value isn't yet strong enough to stand on its own. There's something interesting here. Truly wealthy people rarely need anyone to confirm their wealth. They don't seek the admiring eyes of strangers or crave polite compliments. They're far too used to having things, too aware of who they are, and they understand well. Money is just one small part of life. They spend money the way they breathe, naturally, effortlessly, without needing to show off. And it's exactly that ease, that calm composure, which money alone can't buy. It only comes to those who have walked through enough temptations of glamour, enough empty praise, and finally realize that the deepest fulfillment doesn't come from being looked at, but from feeling at peace with yourself. Someone once said, the more people lack something, the more they feel the need to show it off. But the truth goes even deeper than that. Even those who are newly rich, despite already owning so much, still constantly feel the need to prove themselves. Not because they lack money, but because they lack a true sense of belonging to the world of wealth. They need eyes of approval, the sound of applause, admiration, just to hold up the shaky sense of self inside. Meanwhile, truly wealthy people are the opposite. They understand that class doesn't come from the items you own, but from the calm within your soul as you own them. Whether it's a handbag worth hundreds of millions or one worth a few $100,000, to them, it's simply a matter of practicality. Driving a luxury car or walking on foot, staying at a five-star hotel or grabbing coffee at a roadside stall, it's all just means to an end. None of it changes their worth as a person. The difference is this: truly wealthy people don't spend money to impress. They spend money for themselves, and they don't need anyone else to know about it. And because of that, their demeanor, the way they walk, speak, smile, listen, respond to the world, always exudes a quiet confidence, a peaceful grace, and a deep authenticity. No need for flashy displays, no need for grand announcements, no need to wrap themselves in glowing symbols. They are wealthy and at ease. But sadly, not everyone can resist the sweet temptation of showing off. In today's society, there's a subtle trap laid out everywhere. A trap we can fall into without even realizing it. A trap that plays on our deep desire to be seen, to be admired, to stand out in a crowd. That trap is called vanity. And to better understand how vanity silently shapes our lives, I invite you to continue with me in the next part. There's something most of us have experienced at least once, even if just for a fleeting moment, and that's the longing to be acknowledged. A look of admiration, a word of praise, a gasp of awe. They feel like a breeze across the soul, making us feel more valuable, more special in a crowded world. But if we're not careful, from that simple desire, a sweet trap called vanity will slowly tighten its grip on us. Vanity is not the same as confidence. Confidence comes from knowing yourself, from honoring the values you've worked hard to build. Vanity, on the other hand, comes from how others see you. It makes you measure your self-worth by the reactions of the world around you. If people praise you, you feel important. If no one notices you, you feel small and insignificant. In today's world, the trap of vanity not only exists, it's celebrated, amplified, and glamorously painted over. Social media has turned showing off into a daily habit. Every perfectly edited photo, every status update about a lavish vacation, every accidental glimpse of a designer bag or $1 million watch, all serve as silent declarations. Look at me. Admire me. Bit by bit, vanity seeps into every corner of our lives. People begin buying things not out of need, but out of a desire to be seen. They spend far beyond their means just to earn a few minutes of awe, a few compliments on social media. That feeling of being recognized becomes a kind of mental drug. The more we get, the more we crave. But like any addiction, vanity never truly fills the emptiness inside. It only makes us increasingly dependent on others' gaze to define our own worth. Vanity knows no age, gender, or status. A young woman might save up half a year's salary just to buy a designer handbag. A young man might take on debt just to buy a luxury car, hoping to be seen as successful. There are even those who are already very wealthy, very accomplished, yet they still constantly flaunt every trip, every meal, every item they own. As if the moment they stop, the world might forget they exist. What makes vanity dangerous is that it often disguises itself as success. On the surface, it can look like confidence, like motivation to improve. But inside, it slowly eats away at our peace, our independence, and our genuine self-respect. Vanity also makes it easy for us to lose our way. We no longer make choices for ourselves, but for the gaze of others. We stop living according to our real needs and start living according to what seems admirable. We buy things we don't truly need. We live lives we don't really want, all just to win fleeting nods of approval. And perhaps most heartbreakingly, when the spotlight fades, when social media is reduced to empty comments, when the cold screen offers no comfort under our fingertips, we suddenly realize we're still just as lonely, anxious, and hollow as before. In a society overflowing with noise and hollow praise, keeping a heart that is sincere, humble, and grateful is no easy task. To resist being swept into the whirlwind of vanity, requires an inner strength far greater than simply making money or owning expensive things. There are those who crumble from just a single look of disdain from someone else. And then there are those who, even if the whole world turns its back on them, remain calmly on their chosen path, because they understand true worth doesn't lie in others' eyes, but in staying true to themselves. So, how can we tell the difference between someone who's truly wealthy and someone trapped in the grip of vanity? There's a simple way. Just look at how naturally they live. Truly wealthy people don't try to impress. They don't rush to show off. They don't seek admiring glances. They might own luxurious things, but their attitude toward those things is completely relaxed and unbound. On the other hand, those consumed by vanity often live in constant unease. Everything they own isn't for living. It's for maintaining an image. Every word, every action is shadowed by a quiet desperation for approval. And then, there's a very particular kind of person, someone we often see shine brightly during the early years after gaining wealth. They spend money like water, show off as if it's their life purpose, desperately trying to fill the emptiness within, with the dazzled eyes of others. These are the ones we often refer to as the newly rich. But alongside them, there exists another kind of person, quieter, steadier, and far more profound. These are the individuals society refers to with a more dignified title, the nobility. To truly understand the difference between the newly rich and the true aristocrats, not just in how they spend money, but in how they face themselves and the world, let's step into the next part of this journey. When someone suddenly becomes rich, their life changes almost overnight. Bigger houses, fancier cars, more expensive clothes start to appear. And with that, the atmosphere around them shifts too. The admiring glances, the lavish compliments, the sweet invitations, all seem to surround them like a brand new halo. However, this external change often happens much faster than the change within. A person might become a billionaire overnight, but internally, they're still standing at the starting line, stunned by the new world they've just stepped into. That's why there's a phenomenon that every society has witnessed at some point: the rise of the newly rich. These are people who've just come into wealth, but they're in a rush to show it off. Every bag, every watch, every car is not just a possession, but a signboard announcing to the world, "I've made it." The bigger the logo, the higher the price, the more eye-catching, the better. They're not just buying to use, they're buying to be seen, to see the reflected admiration in the eyes of others, to feel, for a moment, that they've become someone special. There are parties, gatherings, where people compete to flaunt their latest acquisitions. A new mansion, a luxurious vacation, a limited edition watch. In these spaces, success is measured by how many luxury items you can display. And human value seems compressed into cold, hard numbers. But behind the glitter, there are still eyes that haven't truly found peace, forced smiles, and sometimes a quiet sense of unease. Because if you constantly need to prove yourself by showing off, it reveals one thing: there are still many empty spaces inside you, waiting to be filled. The newly rich don't lack money, they lack time. Time to mature, to adjust their mindset, to allow their inner world to catch up with their material wealth. They lack the refinement forged over years, the deep experiences that teach you this one truth: real wealth never needs to be proven. In stark contrast stands the image of the true aristocrat, the one whose wealth isn't just measured by assets, but by a legacy of history and by the way they carry their wealth. With calm, with insight, with grace. A noble doesn't need to wear the flashiest clothes, nor do they need to show off the most expensive items. They don't need to flaunt their status or wealth, because in every gesture, every glance, every word, their confidence and distinct elegance speak volumes. The greatest difference between a newly rich person and a true aristocrat isn't in how much they own, it's in the ease of their soul. One is constantly trying to prove something. The other? They don't concern themselves with how others see them. A newly rich person might drive a supercar, live in a mansion, wear a diamond-studded watch, but deep down, they still need that external validation. Meanwhile, a true aristocrat can sit quietly in a humble coffee shop and still radiate peace, because they no longer seek acknowledgement from those outside their world. True elegance doesn't come from what you wear. It comes from how you face the world, and more importantly, how you face yourself. A handbag with no bold logo, a simple yet refined suit, a calm and composed gaze under the spotlight. These are signs that someone has truly stepped into the realm of mature wealth. And perhaps, the most beautiful quality of such individuals is their humility. Even though they know they possess so much, they still treat others with grace and respect. Even standing at the pinnacle of success, they never forget that every person deserves dignity, whether rich or poor. But to reach that sense of ease, to be wealthy without arrogance, to own without flaunting, to be confident without condescension, is a long journey, one that not everyone completes. And that, in itself, is the highest state a person can attain in their relationship with wealth and fame. The state of ease, a state where one is no longer bound by what they own, nor swayed by the gaze of others. In this state, people spend freely, live freely, and are wealthy, not just in their bank accounts, but more importantly, in their souls. So come with me as we move into the next chapter, to explore that highest state, ease. When we talk about wealth, we often think in numbers. How much money is in the account? How many valuable assets one owns? How many times their name appears on prestigious rankings? But if we look deeper, we begin to see. True wealth isn't just in the possessions one holds. It's in their inner state when faced with that wealth. Some people become more anxious the more they earn, gripped by fear of loss. While others, the wealthier they become, the freer and more at peace they feel. And amid the noise and showiness of the world, those with this calm, grounded mindset have touched the highest level of wealth. Ease is not indifference. It is a deep sense of awareness. When one knows what they have, knows who they are, but is no longer ruled or defined by those things. They may own much, but they don't boast loudly about it. They may spend vast amounts, but they never look down on the small or simple. They may enjoy luxury, but they can also sit happily by a street vendor and savor a humble meal without a trace of embarrassment. Because in their hearts, their self-worth is not tied to what they wear. It's rooted in a deep understanding of life and of themselves. This state of ease cannot be bought. No one can sell it. No one can pretend to have it. It can only be reached through experience, through hardship, and through sincere reflection on the world and one's place in it. Some people spend their whole lives chasing wealth, only to realize, in the end, that the greatest asset they truly needed was a peaceful heart. The one who has reached this state of ease no longer has anything to prove to anyone. They don't need to boast. They don't need to compete. They don't need to stand above anyone to feel valuable. They understand that true happiness doesn't come from being admired. It comes from being at peace within. We can see this ease in the calm eyes of the world's wealthiest entrepreneurs as they speak before an audience. No grand words, no glittering outfits. Yet with their composure and quiet humility, they command the room. And we can also see this ease in those who live simply, gracefully in the everyday world. Those who never speak of money, yet when needed, can quietly offer help. With a heart wide open, they understand that in life, the thing that fades the quickest is superficial glamour. Only inner values, true human qualities, can truly stand the test of time. The highest level of wealth isn't about having more than others. It's when you no longer measure your happiness by comparing yourself to anyone else. It's when you spend money because it brings you joy, not because you're trying to prove something. It's when you can wear a simple shirt and still hold your head high, because you know your worth isn't defined by the fabric on your back. It's when you work quietly, build your life steadily, without feeling the need to constantly broadcast your achievements to the world. In a world where everyone is racing to stand out, ease becomes a rare and precious kind of presence. It's not loud, not flashy, but it carries a quiet strength that those around can feel. And the surprising thing is, the more a person reaches this state of ease, the more magnetic they become. No effort, no performance, just the calm from within that naturally earns respect and admiration. True wealth, then, is not just a matter of numbers. It's a matter of presence, mindset, maturity, and compassion. To attain it, one of the most important things is to see the world with honest eyes. To have lived through enough of life's chapters to understand that true value never lies on the surface. And so, to move forward, we must ask ourselves one question. What does it truly mean to be wealthy? It is to be someone who has moved beyond money. Someone who sees the world, not just with their eyes, but with their heart and through the depth of their experience. To understand that more deeply, I invite you to join me in the next part. The truly wealthy are those who have seen the world. There's a truth rarely spoken, yet as clear as sunlight. The truly wealthy are the ones who have seen the world, not just with their eyes, but with their hearts, through the places they've been, the people they've met, the moments they've lived. A person who's never left their small town may believe the world is only as wide as the street they live on. But someone who has walked through the noisiest cities, the most remote villages, and across vastly different cultures, understands something essential. The world is broader than we imagine, more diverse than we expect, and more generous than we believe. Likewise, true wealth is not just the accumulation of riches, but the expansion of one's soul, the deepening of how we perceive life. Those who are truly wealthy have seen the world, not just with their eyes, but through a profound understanding. They've dined in five-star restaurants, and they've eaten at nameless street stalls. They've stayed in luxury hotels and wandered through humble alleyways. They know that while glamour can dazzle, behind it all, life continues in simple, ordinary ways. These experiences shape a unique kind of mindset, one of calm in the face of difference, of respect for all classes, all lifestyles, all choices. They do not judge others by appearances, nor do they need to boast to feel worthy. Because when you've seen enough of the world and lived deeply enough, you realize, whether wearing an expensive suit or a plain t-shirt, whether riding in a luxury car or walking on foot, we are all, at our core, just human beings searching for meaning and happiness in our lives. Perhaps that's why the truly wealthy are often deeply humble. They know that today they may stand at the top, but tomorrow the world may change. They understand that luck plays a much larger role in success than we like to admit. They are not quick to be arrogant, nor are they quick to look down on others. And more importantly, they know how to appreciate what they have. A simple meal can bring joy. A sincere conversation can make the whole day feel meaningful. They no longer chase luxurious standards to feel worthy, because true worth already lies deep within, in how they live, how they treat others, and how they face themselves. In the eyes of those who've truly seen the world, there's a warmth that can't be faked. It's the gaze of someone seasoned, someone who has walked through both success and failure, someone who understands the fragility and the preciousness of life. They know that no wealth lasts without kindness. No success is meaningful if it's built on contempt or the harm of others. And above all, they understand this. What we flaunt today may become burdens tomorrow. What we cling to the tightest often turns out to be the easiest to lose. So instead of showing off, they choose to live simply. Instead of seeking the spotlight, they embrace the gentle light that comes from within. Instead of trying to outdo others, they focus on making life better, for themselves and for the people around them. That doesn't mean they reject the good things in life. They still enjoy fine meals, wear beautiful clothes, drive safe, comfortable cars, but they do it all with ease. Without showiness, without exaggeration, without needing anyone to notice. To them, true wealth isn't about how much you have. It's about how free you are. Free from imposed expectations. Free from the fear of judgment. Free from the constant need to prove yourself. That freedom can only be reached once you've truly seen the world, and truly seen yourself. On that long journey, they've learned one profound lesson. The race to show off has no finish line. The more you run, the more exhausted you become. The more you try to catch up, the more inadequate you feel, and the farther you drift from true happiness. So how do we break free from this endless race? How do we return to the simplicity, the peace, the inner freedom that already lives in our hearts? That's exactly what we'll explore in the next part. Escaping the race to show off. In today's modern world, where perfectly curated photos are shared every second on social media, we live in a reality where the better you show, the more successful you're assumed to be. Comparison, competition, the urge to prove ourselves. These are becoming unconscious patterns in the minds of many. We snap pictures of luxurious meals, exotic vacations, expensive items, not just to preserve memories, but often, deep down, to send a subtle message. I'm doing well. I've made it. I deserve admiration. At first, it might be unintentional, but over time, if we're not mindful, we can easily fall into a silent race, a race with no finish line, where every time we see someone with something we don't have, we feel lacking, inadequate, and compelled to do more, just to have more to show. This race to show off is deeply dangerous. Because it doesn't just drain your wallet. It erodes your peace of mind. It robs you of the ability to truly enjoy what you already have. Every achievement, every joy, quickly becomes something that must be posted, not something to be quietly cherished. So how do we escape that race? How do we live a life of freedom, unshackled by others' opinions? The answer doesn't lie in rejecting everything, retreating from society, or turning our backs on the modern world. The answer lies in something much simpler: awakening within our own souls. Escaping the race to show off begins, first and foremost, with learning to live for yourself. To do what you love, to own what you cherish, for the genuine joy and inner fulfillment it brings. Not for the approval in someone else's eyes. It's when you buy a watch, not because it's expensive, but because you truly admire its craftsmanship and the story behind it. It's when you choose a bag, not to impress, but because it fits your lifestyle and your sense of style. It's when you travel, not to post photos of where you've been, but to experience a new land, to expand your soul. Escaping the race to show off also means learning to enjoy life your own way, rather than living by the standards society imposes. If a simple home-cooked meal brings you joy, then there's no reason to feel ashamed just because you're not dining at a fancy restaurant. If an old, dog-eared book gives you a moment of peace, then there's no need to chase after trendy titles just to appear cultured. True freedom begins with knowing who you are, knowing what you need, and refusing to let anyone else define your worth. Escaping the show-off race also requires us to let go of comparison, to understand that everyone has their own path, their own starting point, their own unique circumstances. Not everyone shares the same definition of success or happiness, and that, the diversity of it all, is what makes life beautiful. When you stop comparing yourself to others, your heart will feel lighter. You'll feel more gratitude for what you already have. You'll spend more time nurturing your inner world, rather than tirelessly crafting a flawless image for others to see. Escaping the race to show off is a long journey. There will be times you feel lost, times when you're tempted by the sparkle and allure, times when you feel the urge to prove yourself, just to fill the fragile emptiness inside. But as long as you keep reminding yourself, I live to be happy, not to impress. I exist to experience, to love, to grow, not to outdo anyone. Then day by day, you'll move closer to true freedom. A freedom that asks for no approval, no spotlight, no proof of your worth. And when you finally reach that freedom, you'll see the world become gentler, more forgiving, more compassionate. Because you, yourself, will have become a part of that gentleness, that compassion, that warmth. At that point, your wealth is no longer measured by what you own, but by how deeply you feel life. Not by likes or comments on social media, but by the richness of every moment you live. And that is what true wealth looks like. The kind no storm can wash away, no spotlight can outshine. So, if there's one thing I want you to remember from everything we've shared today, it's this: true wealth begins within. On the journey to seek money, success, and fame, never forget, the most precious thing you must nurture every single day is not your bank account, but the richness of your soul, the freedom of your mind, and the ease with which you face yourself. Because in the end, the one companion who will walk with you the longest in this life is no one else but you, and the one who truly understands their own worth. That is the person who is genuinely wealthy. As this journey comes to a close, I want to invite you to pause for a moment. Put down your phone, set aside the noise of daily life, and ask yourself, what am I really living for? Are we chasing after standards set by someone else? Have we forgotten the original reason we set out on this path? If wealth is only about material possessions, then it's all too easy to lose when circumstances change. But if wealth means a rich soul, a peaceful heart, a compassionate gaze toward life, then there's nothing in this world that can take it from you. So don't just accumulate money. Accumulate experiences. Don't fixate on the gaze of others. Turn inward and truly listen to yourself. Remember this: you don't need to become the version of yourself the world expects. You just need to become a version that you are proud of. True wealth doesn't lie in how much more you have than others, but in your ability to live your life with calm, without fear, without shame, without the need to boast. It lies in simply enjoying each step of this journey. If one day you can smile calmly, whether under admiring eyes or skeptical ones, if you can use the light within you to keep yourself warm, instead of seeking it from outside spotlights, then you've truly stepped into the world of the free, the world of the truly wealthy. This journey promises no shortcuts. It asks for patience, for courage, and most of all, for complete honesty with yourself. But I believe that if you stay persistent and sincere, then one day, not far from now, you'll discover a kind of wealth no storm can shake. Peace in your soul. Thank you for spending this time with me. If today's message gave you even a moment of reflection, a spark of inspiration, or simply a sense of calm, don't hesitate to share this video with someone you care about. And if you'd like to keep walking with me on these journeys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so we can meet again in new stories on even deeper paths of growth. I wish you the strength to walk your own road. I wish you the gentleness to treat yourself with kindness. And most of all, I wish that you find freedom, serenity, and true wealth deep within your heart. Until next time, take care and see you soon.